introduce Surat Area Management Association before you. Surat Area Management Association is a non-profit organization incorporated in the Companies Act in March 2022. We have Navsari Management Association as our mentor body and guiding us. Navsari Management Association is active, doing wonderful activities for last 10 years and won more than 3 awards from All India Management Association, and now guiding Surat Area Management Association in developing knowledge in management field. In today's global competitive environment, to achieve a sustainable growth rate, we need to build and maintain competitiveness and update skill and knowledge to face challenges posed by globalization. Main objective of Surat Area Management Association is to educate in scientific management amongst members and other concerned people in Surat area through exchange of knowledge, experience, ideas and sound management principles to make available benefit of its activities and facilities. We also promote education in theory and practice of management and other related subjects. SAMA will provide a platform where top professionals from various sectors across the country such as industry, corporate, government academia and collaborate together to share knowledge and experience. SAMA will showcase the value of management profession and will have access to India's leading network of individuals and organizations promoting management profession. SAMA will share knowledge and expertise of all these organization events through talks, training, seminars and workshops. With these words, I request Mr. Rajesh Desai, our President, Surat Area Management Association, to introduce before you our today's speaker. Thank you.
Good evening to all.
Good evening.
How are you all?
Hi.
I must say that we all are privileged and blessed that we have today Mr. Subodh Poddar as our guest speaker. My journey with Subodh ji is, I think, almost 30 years. We have interacted many times. We have made together many memorable films for Pan Parag, Mast Masala, Rupa, and many more. Mr. Subodh वो एक चित्रकार है, एक पोएट है, शिल्पकार है और साथ में ही फिल्म मेकर भी है. He is a writer also, and he has an amazing command over his art. There are so many things. एक तो आपको पता होगा, आपने काफी वीडियो भी देखे होंगे, जो डांस स्किट्स, मतलब when the dancers are dancing, at the same time he is a painting also. So he is a very good command over that art. His passion for Buddha is also, I have observed, and he had written a book also on Buddha, and he is supposed to make a film also. I wish that film will come soon. With this note, I also would like to add one more thing, that at SAMA, Surat Area Management Association, we are trying very hard to bring this kind of speakers and workshop from the various walks of life. So if you people are thinking and if you are observing and if you find that it's a good platform, then I request you all to please be the member of SAMA and spread the word. आपके आजू बाजू के जितने भी लोग हैं, इनको members बनाइए. Because we are struggling hard. हम और बहुत कुछ लेके आने वाले हैं, but somehow the response is not that much. अगर response मिलेगा, then we can bring as Mr. Hansal Mehta as the next speaker. So are you ready for Mr. Hansal Mehta?
Yes.
So अगर यहाँ पे आए हुए हर एक आदमी 10 मेंबर्स अगर बनाए सामा के, तो दिस ड्रीम वी कैन come true. And also we want to add, bring Mr. Sanjay Puri, the famous architect, for our next session. तो ऐसे बहुत सारे प्रोग्राम हैं. So with this note, I would like to invite my dear friend and a very leading filmmaker, writer, poet, and a painter, Mr. Subodh Poddar.
Taking blessings from Rishi Aurobindo and Ma. I wish Sama a great future. I hope you can get many more speakers and spread knowledge into this young crowd. I can see a lot of youngsters. And thank you for inviting me, giving me this opportunity to speak before this audience. Okay, now people often ask me, what is art? And I have answered them by saying, look, when my eyes, all our eyes see things which are shapes, forms, colors, movements, and we like them. But I, as an artist, also many other artists, want to capture them. Okay, now what happens in that process? My eyes have seen something and my hand has picked up yellow color or red color. But there is something that tells my hand to use the color in a particular manner. My hands do not have eyes. So between the eyes and the hands there is a gap which is filled by the divine. Something tells me to apply the color in a particular manner or a form in a particular manner. That is inspired from what I have seen, what my eyes have seen. So that's how art is made. Passion, it's like an inspiration that comes from somewhere. And the whole art takes shape. Okay, now I was born with a sense of art. My parents say that from the age of 3 years or 4 years, I used to pick up clay from the fields around my way when I used to return from school. I was born in Katni in a Bengali family. Katni is a place in Madhya Pradesh. My dad was a central government employee, and they remember, I don't, that whenever I used to return from school, a child of second standard, first standard, I used to pick up clay from the rice fields which were around my path. I used to come back with the clay, and at home I used to make statues out of the clay, gods and goddesses, toys, and they were the only companion that I had during my childhood. I used to pick up clay and I used to turn the clay in the hand like this, and I used to make statues. And my parents used to say, this guy is gifted. I don't know if I was gifted really. Then family was transferred to Maharashtra, a place in Ambernath, near Bombay, where I completed my school. I was in 8th standard when I came to Ambernath. And this was Kendriya Vidyalaya, and there was a subject which was drawing and painting. Katni, a small place, did not have all that. My parents did not even know that there is an education system in art that exists. So when I came to Ambernath, I had a drawing teacher who identified my talent, and he told my father that this boy should go to an art school. And my father knew nothing about art school and what happens once you learn art. Where do you go? How do you make your money? Where do you support your family? But then my father was kind, very, very kind, and he listened to my drawing teacher and he sent me to JJ School of Art. There my journey started with paper, pencil, charcoal, ink, colors, oil colors, pastel colors. Everything started And every day a new assignment, a new thing to do. Sometimes it's a portrait, sometimes it's a nature, sometimes it's object drawings. All these subjects are taught in art. I was learning on that, and while I was in fourth year, and my divine intervention starts there. There was a strike in the college of the professors. It was a government art college. So professors had a strike. And in the final year, you're supposed to present portfolios, you're supposed to do a lot of presentation work and all, and we were sitting dull, idle at home. So somebody, a senior student of mine who was working in Lipuna Associates, he called me and he said, come over to the office, there is an illustration job to be done. I had to draw a title. So I went to the office, I drew it, it came out very nice. They called me next day again, another assignment, and the next day again. So I was engaged doing advertising illustrations for quite some time. When the college started for exams, Mr. Tikuna, the owner of the company, he gave me the appointment letter saying whether you appear for exam, whether you pass or fail, we do not do, you come on answer. So that was my first entry into advertising. And when I'm talking about illustrator, today you all may not know the requirement of an illustrator in an agency. I can see a lot of students, and I don't know what faculty or what I'm studying, but if there is anybody in art or advertising or communication, so you will know there is something called illustration which needs to be acting as a support to the campaign, main headline. There are headlines, there are pictures, there are body copy, there is baseline, there is tagline, all this happens in advertising. At that time, there was no photography, there was photography, but printing photographs in newspaper was not possible. So there used to be drawings. There used to be drawing in black and white, which used to be converted into blocks, and that used to get printed. So I was doing drawings for advertising, and then slowly I got promoted to visualizer and then art director, and I moved from one agency to the other agency, and I grew as visualizer and art director. I was doing a lot of various brands like Amul, I was doing the hoardings, then Bank of India, then Margo, Hamam, LIC, all these campaigns I was doing when I was moving from one agency to the other agency. What happened? Suddenly, in one of the agencies, I was called to the managing director's room and said, look, Subodh, your Hindi is very good. Why don't you help us out? I was a visualizer. My job was to draw and make layouts of somebody who is writing a headline. I had to visualize the headline and draw it out as a layout. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. Put everything down on paper in a drawing form so that it can be explained to a client. Okay, this is the headline, this is how the illustration. My job was that. So the creative director called me and said, look, we are going to meet a client who are very ethnic, who's Gujarati and who like to communicate in Hindi. It's not that they can't speak English, but from the agency side, if you have to please the client, we should speak in the language that he accepts us better. You understand the psychology of a communicator? If I'm a communicator, I have to come down to your level or come up to your level to be able to talk to you. So that was a problem with that client. So I was taken there to be at the client meeting and take his requirement, what client requires, so in Hindi I can understand, I can put down things properly. The client was Jhandu and the product was Pancharish. I'm telling you this because this was the one first experience in my life which I did not know my own strength till that time. So the client was expecting a campaign for Jhandu Pancharish, and his explanation was that this Pancharish is a product which is used in winter and it gives you a little warmth in your body because it has got amla, it has got kesar, and it has all these various ingredients. It keeps your body warm. And youngsters who are already warm, they don't feel the difference. But people who are older, they feel the difference in the winter season. Okay. Now, the client, who was a Hindi-speaking person, was dying to use a word, a sublime communication of aphrodisiac. You all understand? Yeah? Aphrodisiac is which gives your body a little warmth and you feel a little more manly and all these things. The tones, overtones of sexuality. Now he could not pronounce that word. So I understood his requirement. And the agency also understood, but we did not have a word for it. So I said, look, if you want to communicate that, and if your target is a man who is not young, he is 50, 60 plus, and if he has to feel good about this product, and if his body already is feeling warm, then what should we say to him? I said, then your headline should be 60 saal ke budhe ya 60 saal ke jawan. So, this was just a way of speaking. For a Hindi-speaking person like me who came from Madhya Pradesh, we use a lot of muhavras, we use language like this while talking. It was my common general way of talking and it became a hit. The agency almost clapped. The client hugged me. He said, oh, wow, wonderful line. Agencies used to develop taglines. Now we call them tagline. Amul, the taste of India, is a tagline. Utterly butterly delicious is a tagline for that product. So, Kesari Jeevan had a tagline from that time, 60 saal ke bude ya 60 saal ke jawan. And it was so that it was very, very good experience that I had. And then I was to design the rest of the campaign. So the agency, we came back to the agency with a very good feeling, and they said, well, design a communication for this. So I designed something which was a bus is coming and stopping at the bus stop. There is an old man, 60 plus. He is catching the bus, and there is a youngster who is coming from behind, and the bus has already started, and that old man holding on to the handle, he gives hand to the young man and pulls him into the bus. So, 60 saal ke bude ya 60 saal ke jawan, and was accepted very, very well. But then when both of them get inside the bus, I had to bring in that little aphrodisiac feeling. So in the bus there was a girl sitting down, and she sees the whole episode that happened outside, this old man pulling the young man in, and she was very impressed. So her look was that of very impressed. But in the bag she was carrying Chendu. So the client had approved it. Everything was okay, but Doordarshan did not approve. Saying that girl is very, her look is not that of a very good girl who is looking, seductressly like at an old man. So that shot had to be cut off. But the television commercial ran with the line, 60 saal ke bude ya 60 saal ke jawan. So the line was very effective. It ran for many years. So I realized that to write a tagline or to write an advertising line, you do not have to be a Shakespeare, or you don't have to play each other or another. It is the feel that you have for the audience. You have to have the demand that's going to the audience, product that's going to the audience. What does the product demand and what does the audience need from the product? If you understand these 2-3 things, if you match the product with the need of the consumer, you can write a good headline, and which is from the life of the consumer. Not your words, but from his life, from his perspective, from his ambience, if you have to bring out these lines. So that was my experience. After that, one day, another agency has various departments. Are you all liking what I'm talking? Yes. So you'll hear a lot of such stories from me. So this copywriter, there's a visualizer, there's an art director, there's a creative director. There's also a language department in every agency. If a line is written in English, it has to be translated into all languages, all 17, 18, 20 languages, Indian languages. It's a very big task. So this was the period when the television was becoming common into people's it was not just an elite item in the house where rich people could afford television. So that time, demand for Hindi and the local languages was very increasing. So Hindi was increasing, and the copywriter in the agency who was writing Hindi was absent. So I was told to come to the client office, just take a brief and please write something about it. The product was Godrej Storewell. Okay, now Storewell at that time, in those days, was in every home. There was no alternative. घर में cupboard है तो Godrej है. So, and the client had some advertising budget which agency had to spend. And they had not spent that money because there is no advertising needed for that product. But agency earns money from the money spent on advertising. Agency used to earn 17% from the money spent for the client. You understand this? Now that money has to come into the agency, which means agency has to make advertising for a product which does not need advertising. So we had designed emotional campaign for the first time in India. Otherwise, always we have this product and that product and all this kind of advertising was happening. Emotional advertising happened for the first time. So we needed to sell the second product into the same house which has already got one product. So I came up with this idea: if there is a household which has got a beautiful Godrej cupboard, and the son is getting married and the daughter has come home, so the daughter needs a new cupboard. Okay, now I wrote a jingle. I used to write poetry, and I wrote a jingle which was taken to the client. And I was in the agency, and the creative director went to the client, and they presented it. They got it approved, and it was in such an emergency. The next day, it was being recorded. Kavita Krishnamurthy already was in the studio. The creative director called me and said, "Subodh, come, we are recording your jingle." I said, "What jingle?" She said, "Tell me what you wrote yesterday." I said, "Do you remember the jingle what I wrote?" She said, "Yes, I remember every word," which is the first test passed. So I wrote something which was remembered, word by word. That means it was so close to heart. When I went to the studio, there was a very veteran Hindi writer, Pandit Vinod Sharma. He patted my back. He said, "Beautiful jingle, because this is common man's language. This is not poetry from a poetry class or literature class. And it talks about product that we deliver. It talks about the product, not about any other poetry." The jingle was, "Sajan ke aangan mein pehla kadam." The bahu is coming home. "फूलेगी बगिया महके हरदम, इन खुशियों की तहे सजाए, हम कुछ और जगह बनाए, स्टोर में दूसरे." So here the catchphrase was, "इन खुशियों की तहे सजाए," because the clothes and things are all messed up. So let's fold these things up, make some more space for putting in the cupboard. Okay, so that took a bite. And now there was a problem that the jingle was too long, so the client had a problem. The agency suggested we will do multiple of this in regional languages. So this was translated into many languages, and it went. And then it had to be extended into other areas. Like, what about there are two boys in the house? They're fighting for one cupboard. The same jingle was converted into two boys kind of. हमारे तुम्हारे तुम्हारे हमारे हमारे ही झगड़े समझौते हमारे, आओ मिलजुल कर सिलवटे संवारे, हम कुछ और जगह बनाए, स्टोर में Godrej.
Wow.
So the same jingle had a little tone. You are asking me, how does me being a singer, a dancer, an artist, and a sculptor, how does this help in advertising? See, it helps in advertising. If I was depending on somebody to give me the words that will express certain things, I wouldn't have got. Probably I don't know what I would have got. Here I got exactly what I wanted because I knew what the client was wanting, I knew what the market was wanting, and I could do the whole thing myself. The music was designed by Vaidyanathan then, and it was sung by Kavita Krishnamurthy and Purnima. So that was my jingle experience. After that, many jingles happened, like जब घर की रौनक बढ़ानी हो, दीवारों को जब सजाना हो, मैं रुला रंगों की दुनिया में आओ, रंगीन सपने सजाओ. So, even this jingle had a very big story. You all see the ads, hardly you get to hear the story behind it, because the jingles do not happen by itself. The Godrej happened because I was told that we have to sell the second product. So everything was hinged on second product. So where did this Nerolac jingle come from? Not from my mind. It came from marketing. It came from research. It came from planning. In an advertising agency, there are planners who go to the market. They talk to people. They talk to consumers. They find out what is there in the product, whether it is needed by the consumer or not. If it is not needed, how do you create the need? It's the task given to creativity. You understand? And that creative, what we write, is actually supporting the marketing. It's not fine arts. I'm not painting something that a woman dancing in a lot of colors. It's not what I wish. It is what my creative is supposed to do a task. It's supposed to help marketing. In those days, Asian Paint was the biggest paint makers, and they were selling biggest, and they were selling about 80 times more than Nerolac paint was selling. Nerolac paint was small, but they had to advertise with the small budget that they have, not as much as Asian Paint. They were making 1-minute television commercials where each 10 seconds used to cost 80,000 rupees in those days. Okay, and they were making 1-minute TV commercials with Jagjit Singh singing a jingle, beautiful ghazal, lovely house, slow motion and housewife, beauty, everything was beauty, 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 was shown in the TV commercial, and it was doing very well. So I was given this task, you have to do something with 80% less money. They had 40 crores and I had only 7 crores to spend. And we had to do this commercial, and we again went into the market, found out what was missing in Nerolac. Nothing was missing. What was advantage in Asian Paint? We discovered that Asian Paint, every dabba, every can of Asian Paint was carrying a 2 rupee coin inside, which nobody knew, not even the company, not even the market, except the painter who emptied the dabba. He found the 2 rupee coin. And the painters are usually the consultants for housewives. Those days there was no interior designers, there were no architects. The painter used to be called, and यहाँ पर नीला चाहिए, यहाँ पर पीला चाहिए. The painter would say, नहीं मैडम आपको एशियन पेंट ही लगाना चाहिए, आपको बिल्कुल correct नीला मिलेगा, आपको correct पीला मिलेगा, because he knows उसको 2 रुपया मिलेगा. So that was the incentive the painters were getting, and we had to fight that. And there, nobody was talking about the painters and his benefit. Okay, now here I have to make it obvious to the painters. I have to give painters the benefit and upfront. So if the painter is feeling very good with 2 rupee coin, the painter has to feel very good about my TV commercial. When he sees the TV commercial, he has to feel that it's mine. I am there, it's me. So his accountability towards Nerolac paint goes slightly higher. So what if there is no 2 rupee coin? So we wrote this jingle, and we used young boys, boisterous boys who were the painters. They have just finished painting the home, and the owner comes into the house and he claps after this jingle. And the jingle is जब घर की रौनक बढ़ानी हो, दीवारों को जब सजाना हो. So whole credit is given to the painters. This beautiful house is beautiful because of you. So the painters were very, their morale was uplifted, and this did very well. It did so well that this jingle, who sang and designed, was called, his name was Vishwajit. Vishwajit Brahmachari. He was a childhood friend of mine who was trying to become Kishore Kumar in film industry, but nobody, कोई दाना नहीं डाल रहा था उसको. He was ठोकरे खा रहा था. So I told him, look, you are a musician, why don't you do this jingle for me? I don't have money to experiment. So he did 3 jingles, and one was approved. And that was the jingle. So when Kalyanji Anandji used to travel abroad for shows, they used to do film music, and they used to travel abroad to do shows, and it was good business. And whenever they used to do Kishore Kumar songs, they used to take Vishwajit with them. because Vishwajit sounded Kishore Kumar and he used to sing Kishore Kumar songs very beautifully. So with Kalyanji Anandji, Vishwajit used to travel world over to sing Kishore Kumar songs. But see, when Vishwajit came onto the stage, Kalyanji Anandji used to introduce him to the world audience. Look, this is Vishwajit, the singer of Nerula Paints. And the whole concert used to start with Nerula jingle. Jab ghar ki raunak badhani ho. The concert used to start with Nerula jingle. That's how popular it was. And the audience used to sing. Even today when I go for lectures in colleges and all workshops, people, the children like you, they still remember. This is age-old jingle, but people still remember. So the feel-good factor in advertising is the biggest. No matter what technology you use, today's whatever camera you use, drone using, post-production, anything that you use, chroma, shroma. But what works is what hits you in the heart. So I was doing many such things, and I was so occupied with advertising that I was.
Can you show that?
It will come in the there will be many ads. You will be distracted. How do I get these ads? I don't know which number it will be. Should we see it later? We'll see it later. Because this ad is in the end of one of the reels.
Okay.
Yeah? Yeah, this day in this, but it's quite at the end. So you'll get distracted. So I'll talk about all the ads if you want. You ask me questions of all of them, I will answer. I was getting little diversified from my art. I was born to paint, I was born to sculpt, but this advertising kept me so busy. You know, हल्दी और चंदन के कुछ समाए संतूर, जीवन को कुछ और सजाए संतूर संतूर was again written by me and designed by me. The ads were made by me. अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया. Okay, these are all work that kept me busy and kept me entertaining all my life. There's so much challenge, there's so much good work that I was doing, but I was feeling that I'm not doing justice to my own artist which is inside. My office was in Nariman Point and there was NCP very close. My passion was to sketch. After office I used to go to NCP, buy a ticket and go and sit and watch dance performances. I used to go with sketch pad and I was quite fast in drawing. Go with sketch pad and I used to draw. There's a dance happening and I used to draw. Keep drawing, keep drawing. For years I was drawing. Okay? With a sketch pen, with a polo pen, I used to keep drawing. And what happened? These drawings, I used to keep them, good ones, I used to clip them on my softboard. Once I was in the office presenting to ITC a cooking oil called gold, real gold, and I was supposed to make the presentation. And ITC's product head or something, marketing head, was supposed to visit Bombay in the agency, and I was supposed to present. So strangely, you know, all products always do not have everything that consumer wants, but we have to somehow link it to the need of the consumer. We have to make the ad look good so the consumer gets it. I cannot sell the product. I can only promote. I can do a communication to you or to your mother, to your sister. They will like that. But to buy the product is the product that has to perform. So I cannot take the product to you. I can take the advertising to you. So that was the task given to me. Okay, this oil is mustard oil, which is double refined. It's not going to sell because people who use mustard oil, the North India, Bengal, Assam, they use mustard oil because of its pungent. If the mustard oil doesn't have the pungent because it's double refined, they will not use it. And because on the label you have written mustard oil, rest of the market will not even try because it is mustard oil. They will not even try whether it is double refined or smells or not. So it was surely going to be a failure. But I had to make a campaign for it because they had already produced tons of the oil that had to sell in the market. They said they would stop selling after this first stock is You understand? They will not go in for other round of productions. This had to be very strong. So I had designed the campaign, and I had. It was like a housewife who is going to cook for the family, and she knows what the family wants, and she's cooking with a lot of happiness. There will be a jingle, she will be singing and very happy, like Neverland means, was the brief. And I had my slides prepared, lots of slides on the, and would present one after the other. Okay. Now the client comes into the conference room. I was in the conference room with the account executives. Client with the managing director walks in, and it's a round table. I'm on one side with the projector like this, and the client comes and sits opposite me. And he tells me, Subodh, I will buy the first slide that you show me, provided you give me 2 of the sketches which are pinned on your drawing board. So the bargain was 2 of my dancescapes. If given to the client will buy the campaign that I have done. So there was again an uproar, people clapped. This has never happened in the agency before. I gave the drawings to them. Next time when I visited Hyderabad to his office, he had redone the interior of his office based on those 2 black and white drawings like these. 2 drawings on the board, and the rest of the office is in black and white cushions, black and white everything was black and white. It was so beautiful his office was, with some bamboo sticks next to it. And what was that campaign? I had designed this one. Can you hear?
Yes.
It's a housewife, and I was explaining to them, like I was standing at the table, and I was explaining to them, this is a beautiful housewife, wonderful home, and there are beautiful children sitting, and they are all waiting for the food to come to the table. What is this housewife doing? She's on her kitchen table. She picks up the bottle, and she says, Tari jum, tari jum, tari jum, tari jum, tari jum, tari jum. So she cooks in this time.
Wow.
And this was spontaneous. I just had not thought of this at all. It was again something told me that this is your demonstration time. You have to kill yourself, but you have to sell this oil because this is a non-sellable product. So the client loved the demonstration of my holding the bottle, little bit of dance, little bit of music, little bit of acting, and the campaign was sold. Okay, so that was the time I realized the strength of my sketches of dancescapes, just like this. So I started taking the dancescapes a little more seriously. I started going to dance schools. All this while I was sitting in the auditorium, drawing with colo pen on a sheet like this, because there is audience all around me. I cannot sit with papers and disturb the rest of the audience. So I was sitting down with a paper, small sketch pad and drawing. Now that I took it seriously, I started going to dance schools. From Assam to Kerala to Chennai to Ahmedabad to Delhi, all these gurus, Mallika Sarabhai, in Kelucharan Mahapatro, Gurima Hazarika in Assam, Birju Maharaj in Delhi, all of them I went to their schools. I sat down with the paper and I did bigger, larger drawings like these. Lots of them. And then one day one gentleman who was from Shantiniketan visited my house because he saw my drawing somewhere. He came to see my portfolio. He saw these drawings and said, "What are you doing with them?" I said, "I will someday make paintings of them like that with color and then I'll exhibit." He said, "Nothing doing. You will exhibit them as they are with the spontaneous strokes. They're so spontaneous, it's just black and white, but they speak so much. Just exhibit them like this." So I exhibited. I started exhibiting my work like this, and a lot of people who like minimal style, minimalism, you don't have to, that is not minimal, this is minimal. With so little number of lines, so much expression, so much language is coming across. So minimalist was liked by a lot of people, and a lot of my work got sold. And what happened, I met a dancer from Italy in Ahmedabad at Mallika Sarabhai School. She was very impressed with my drawings. Really, very impressed. Are you all liking so far?
Yes.
Yes, louder, yes.
Yes.
Okay, now she was from Italy. She was here in India to learn Bharatanatyam. Can you imagine? She was doing post-graduation in Bharatanatyam with Mallika Sarabhai. So she said, I love your drawings, let us work together and let's work on projects together. I was very thrilled. Gori Chavdi Indians, you know how they beautiful Italian girl, and I used to draw her. And she said, look, I like to draw. I like to dance with nature. You know, forest, water, sea. So let's go somewhere. So we went to a place near Alibag. I have a house there. And on the beach, I was drawing, she was dancing, and there was a friend of mine who was photographing the whole thing. What you will see here, you can see this later. You know, just now won't be clear. You can see this picture later. There is a dancer. I am in the water, okay, and the photographer is on the sand. We are working. I am drawing something. Like if I draw, if I am drawing on an easel, you are a camera. You don't know what I am drawing. I am drawing. You don't know what I am drawing because you are there. Okay? And this girl is dancing with water. She's throwing water around. There's wind around her. There's sunlight, and beautifully she's dancing. And the camera is clicking. You're clicking. And I'm wondering, what the shit, man? She's got water. She's got sunlight. She's got wind and everything. Man, I am going to be backing. Where is water? Where is wind? Nothing here. And I have to keep drawing because camera is on. Suddenly, I got my answer. The divine intervention happened. A gush of wind threw all my papers into the water. I was standing, looking at the papers floating. I picked them up one by one, one by one. And the wet paper I put on my canvas and I painted. I'm getting goosebumps.
Wow.
I don't know if anybody painted before. That wet paper with the ink, the moment the brush touched the paper, whoosh, the ink went like that, as if it has life of its own. I can't tell you, I can't explain any better than this. The drawings were beautiful, and the drawings are in the next page. This was the situation, and this was the drawing.
Oh.
So, you know, word exaggerated. Camera is on, I have to keep working. My idiotic mind is not even exploring the water which is all around me. And I'm wondering, what am I doing now? There is water in my mind. And the water is all around. I got my answer. Is it not divine? It's absolutely 100%. I couldn't have done it on my own. I was not thinking in that line. Suddenly the wind comes, all the papers. And I pick them up, I start drawing on them, and one after the other, they were wonderful drawings. Okay, that was one realization. Wonderful one. Then along with that girl, Italian girl called Antonella, she went back to Italy and she designed a ballet. Ballet was called Viaje, Water. And her theme was from Rabindranath Tagore to Paris or something like that. She had designed various music forms, and I was supposed to start the show. Okay. My shows was to paint, and there would be 4 cameras on my work. Okay. And I'm painting, and these 4 cameras will capture what I'm painting, and they would edit then and there. Somebody would edit all the 4 cameras, and it will go on projection behind the dancers. So what my brush strokes are happening here are happening in large size in the background. You know, these kind of shows I've done 9 times in Italy, twice in France, once in Morocco. They're beautiful there. So what I'm saying, okay, this, see, from where to where it developed, from where to where it jumped. You know, and now also I do these shows which are called landscapes, and what you saw in the video. You know, so that's what was happening, and along with that, I was also experimenting with clay at that time. You know, it was retirement time. I was retiring, and there was no work to keep me engaged. I can't sit without work. So I had started my clay sculptures, which I used to do when I was 5-6 years old. And it had discontinued because of my studies and art college and advertising. It had discontinued completely. So I went back to the clay. And again realized that my hands have a life of its own. They have eyes, they have a heart, they can feel. You know, the moment I touch the clay, it has its own life. It gives shape to a thing. It was amazing for myself to see. So one such day, I was making a statue of Gautam Buddha. And this room is not well lit, so I can't demonstrate. See, with an artist, if anybody is an artist here, anybody who has tried his hand in drawing, you will know that there has to be a light and shadow for any shape to be seen. If it is all light, you don't see a shape. It has to be a shadow. Okay? You understand? Like shadow is very necessary. Like here I am standing, my eye socket is bigger, my nose has a shadow here, my chin has a shadow down. So because of these shadows, an artist can make or define the shape of the body of a human face. If these shadows are not there, you will not. So I was making the face of Gautam Buddha. And when you do ceramic work, you can't build more than 8 inches per day. The clay is wet, there's a lot of water, it sinks. If you make a tall lady today, and tomorrow she will become a fat woman because the clay will sit. So I cannot make beyond a certain height. So my Gautam Buddha was going stage by stage by stage. It was the 3rd stage, and when I had put the head on his shoulders, and that day I needed light, for doing the features. And that day I was doing in IIT Powai. My work table, behind there were glass windows, lots of glass windows. Behind the windows is a forest, big forest, and behind that was clouds and the sun. There was no way that sunlight would have come to my desk. And the rest of the room lights were other side where I was not seeing any light and shadow on the face. Face was done, but I did not know whether both the eyebrows are equal, whether both the chin is equal, or the shadow is perfect or not, all equal or not. I could not make out because there was no proper light. And I was dying and I was praying, my God, how can I work? And today I have to finish this stage because tomorrow again this will sink. If I don't make it perfect tomorrow, I will not be able to work on it. Desperate situation. I go out to take tea, have tea at 3 o'clock. I sit there, I couldn't sit for very long because it could rain any moment, and I come back to the room because I have to finish, I have to go home. When I come back, you won't believe the clouds had split and the sun was exactly on the center of my statue. And I could see each eyebrow, I could see the nose, I could see the shadows, I could see everything. I quickly took place and I quickly made the corrections, and the face was ready and the clouds came back and it started raining. It rained and rained and rained, and I cried inside me, oh my God, what has happened? I wanted people to come and listen to me, what is happening to me, look at this. It was a divine intervention, it could not have been anything else. See, in our lives, we all have these kind of little things that happen to us every day. But often we remember things that don't happen. And because, अरे 10 चीजें होती हैं हमारे साथ हर रोज, उनकी तरफ आंखें नहीं खुलती. This was another divine intervention. It was wonderful, wonderful. After this, I always wanted to make films. Advertising films was happening. But in one exhibition in France, where I went, and one of the landscapes shows, a lot of people, they come and they talk, and they wondered, how come this man from Indian slums is doing such wonderful work? They were talking like that. कि slum का आदमी ये कैसे बना सकता है? Then I realized Slumdog Millionaire was the culprit. It was winning all awards that year, and the whole world saw India as slums. They thought my children also fall into the shit pit and they jump up and they go run for autograph. I felt so bad that this is the impression. It's a wonderful movie. It won many awards, Academy Awards. But for my country, it was very bad. The image it created was very, very bad. So I thought to myself, if I ever get a chance to make a movie, if I ever get funds to make a movie, I will do exactly opposite of this. My country is so beautiful. Landscape, people, culture, colors are so beautiful that I should be making films out of those. Instead of making Karan Johar types in Shadi Ho Rahi Shadi Ho. There are subjects which we can develop and we can make, and these kind of subjects are real world class. They are real Oscar type, not Lagan and all, whatever. So I was determined that I must write. And wherever I traveled, I was doing films for Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Pakistan and all. So in one travel, I went to Sri Lanka. Well, in my mind, there was one story happening. The story was of Buddha. How to project Buddha. Gautam Buddha. Why? Because my advertising mind says you have to do something that will have an audience. And Buddha films have never failed. No matter how you make Buddha films, they recover money. That's a very safe bet. Very safe bet. So if I do something, I should do on something that will get the financiers' money back. I started working on Buddha. I started reading a lot, and everybody who wrote about Buddha wrote about the same thing. How he saw 3 tragics in their life. How he decided to leave home when his child was born. How for 7 years he roamed all about. How he penanced and how he discovered that middle path is the way. So everybody writes only that. So I was tired. Everybody is writing in different languages, in different expressions, but the same thing. I wanted to write it. So I was in Sri Lanka, and there I found a book where Gautam Buddha is returning home after 7 years, and he had a son that he had left behind, Rahul. And Rahul is asking his mother, "You had told me that my father, the king, is coming back, but this one is a beggar. He's not a king, he can't crown me." So the mother explains to him in 7 shlokas how great this man is. So that inspired me, and those shlokas were beautiful. So I came back, that book, and also came back and read, and then I started writing about Rahula. Okay, now my story was, Rahula was told by all his relatives कि तेरा बाप तो भगोड़ा है, responsibility छोड़ के भाग गया, पता नहीं कहाँ कहाँ घूम रहा है. In those days there was no mobile, there was no phone, nobody knew where that man has gone. All they knew that he has escaped his responsibilities and he has run away from the kingdom. He was the only son, he should have become the next king. He shouldn't have run away like this. So this is what Rahul had been hearing about his father. Now, after 7 years, Buddha is coming back home. In our culture, Vedic culture, you cannot become a sannyasi unless your parents have allowed you, unless your parents have permitted you. He had run away, so he had not spoken to anybody. Now that he has achieved his jnana, he has to come back home to become a sannyasi, to take permission from his parents. Only then he can take sannyas. Otherwise he can't. So that is why he came back home. I did not know this fact. And now that he comes back home, this boy is 7 years old. Buddha had left home saying this boy is going to be the bonding. He's a binding. He will bind me to this world. So he said, this is Rahula, I have to go. Rahula means a bond. The word literal meaning is bond. So he left by saying this is a bond. He went away. Now after 7 years when he comes, he gives lectures in Kapilavastu. Half the Kapilavastu becomes his disciples. When he is leaving, he takes the child with him. So he takes the bond with him. So what kind of renouncement he had? So this made me wonder. So I wrote this story. Why did the child go with the father? What did the child see in those 7 days? I had to write about greatness of Buddha. I can't write like hundreds of people who wrote great literature about Buddha. I am not so knowledgeable. I don't have so much sense. So I became a child. I became an innocent baby. So I started thinking like a baby. I started putting logics like a baby. So all my logics and all the stories from a child's point of view. And at the end of the 7th day, he sees the father bigger than all kings. He's like God. Every day some incidents happen. And the father figure becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. On the last day, he's like the God to the child. Innocent eyes. So he lives with the child, with the father. The story structure was completed, but I was not sure about how will it be taken by the world. Interesting so far?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I was not sure how will the world take my story. I'm writing a new story. This has never been told before. The Buddhist community may pounce on me. I may be judged. I mean, what I meant, I knew one monk in Japanese monastery in Bodh Gaya. So I wrote to him. I said, I want to come and check one story. Can you find more scholars of Buddhism so that I can read the story? Somebody can tell me where I have faltered, where mistakes kahan par hai, where I have quoted wrong things and all. Because lot of the incidents I had taken from the Buddhist scriptures. I strung them through the child's eye. Now, I went to Bodh Gaya. I found this monk called Kiran Rama, who is in charge of Buddhist monastery, Japanese. And he introduced me to the chief editor of Mahabodhi Sangha. He is a historian, Buddhist historian, and he is a scholar, and he is an editor. And Mahabodhi Sangha is the biggest Buddhist organization in the world. So I was reading the story to them, and they were loving it. And I stayed there for 4 days. Every afternoon I used to have 1 hour session. I would read the story, they would give me reactions, I would make correction, whatever. This session went on for 5 days. Every day I used to go under the Bodhi tree. Have you been there? Anybody? There is Mahabodhi temple. Behind that there is a 500-year-old people tree, which is supposed to be a generation of the same tree that existed. A people tree cannot exist for 2,500 years. Every 500 years, it's a new tree or something, whatever. It looks like a 5,000-year-old tree. I used to sit under the tree and I used to sketch. There are a lot of monks from various places, Japanese monks, Sri Lankan monks, and they are all sitting all around. They have their ways of praying, they have their way of standing and how they pray. There was one Japanese monk who was walking, about 20 feet, but his walk was like a slow motion. Okay, I can't do that. Slowly his leg would lift and he would step down. And that balancing probably was his act of penance. Okay, and he was doing that. And suddenly a leaf from somewhere dryly fell, and all his parents went hot, and he went the leaf. And he did this and put it in his pocket. Okay. And then I noticed many people were sitting down there to pick up the leaf that falls. It's a blessing. So I laughed. I continued sketching. I was doing more and more and more sketches for some time. Suddenly a leaf fell on my sketch pad. Again, this is the goose people moment. And I suddenly picked it up and I saw, kisne dekha the leaf. Otherwise they will take the leaf from me. I took the leaf, I twirled it around my hand and wondered, what is this? This is an order from Gautam Buddha to finish the story now. You've got enough, go back home and finish the story. If you have an objective to make a film out of it, find a producer, whatever. So I took the leaf, put it in my pocket and came back home. And with the approved story. Both the people there, they loved the story. They said, we have not heard Buddha's story written in this manner. Or from this perspective, from a child's perspective, innocent kid's perspective. One incident I will narrate to you. You liking it?
Yes.
The child is hearing about his father coming back from whom? All the princely boys used to go into the Tarai of mountain, Himalayas, And they used to go for horse riding, learning polo, learning fighting, all martial art. They used to learn at the top of the mountain. All the boys, teenagers, 8 years to 15, 16 years, they used to go there. And they used to come back running on the horse, come back home. One day he was returning and there was a lotus pond. In the lotus pond there were thousands of lotuses. And he saw one boy, a choose boy, who had picked up a whole handful of lotuses and he was coming out of the water as if it's a treasure that he found. So Rahula got off his horse and went to the boy because he was one Raja ka ladka na. His gait was like this, always used to be like that. Hey, kya karta hai? Na lotus ka kya karega tu? So the boy says, you don't know. Today, Sakyamuni is coming to town. The boy knew who Sakyamuni was. His chest swelled with pride. My father. So, what will you do with the lotus? So the boy says he likes lotuses and whole city will give him lotus, offer lotuses to him. So they will buy the lotus from me and I'll make a lot of money. So Raksha, give me one lotus. He takes the lotus and takes his ring out and throws it in. He goes home. You know, the state goes, Thakur and Raja and Rajkumar, they always have this type of thing. He goes home and the whole house is preparing for Buddha's welcoming. He also, after coming back home, he goes to Mallashala, where they do kusti. He throws every boy out and that's when he hears your father is coming. So leaving like that half naked in Rangoat, he picks up that lotus and runs. Okay, he's running towards the father. Suddenly his grandmother stops him. She tells him that, look, you are Apshakun. You don't go in front of your father. जब तू पैदा हुआ था, तेरा बाप भाग गया था. आज अगर तू जाएगा ना, वो फिर से भाग जाएगा. तू जाना मत. Why does she say this? There's nobody in the palace. Everybody is gone. She and the child. This dialogue is happening. She thought she was responsible for Buddha going away. All these years, she felt guilty for not being able to stop her own son. And she used to feel the pain in her heart. And she used to blame everybody. She used to blame Yashodhara. इतनी beautiful लड़की है, साली तू रोक नहीं पाई अपने हस्बैंड को. उसके पिता को बोलता था, राजा तुम कैसे राजा हो? तुमने बुद्धा को सिखाया नहीं, सिद्धार्थ को लड़ना झगड़ना सिखाना चाहिए था. भाग गया लड़का, देखो. But she was feeling guilty herself inside. So she wanted, once the Siddharth comes back after 7 days, she wanted to keep him forever. And she wanted him not to see Rahula, to keep Rahula hiding from him, so that he comes home at least, to see the child. बच्चे को देखने तो आएगा ना, उसने बच्चे को ब्लैकमेल कर लिया और बच्चे को बोल दिया तू खबरदार जाना मत उसके साथ. बच्चा डर गया. Now the whole story is happening that the child doesn't go in front of the father. Okay, this is one incident. Buddha comes, everybody goes to receive him, but Yashodhara is standing near her window. She is watching from far because Buddha went without telling her. So she was very insulted all these 7 years. She had to face all the questions. Now Rahula and Yashodhara is watching Buddha on the street. He doesn't come home. You know, king and the queen has gone requesting, but he doesn't come home. He goes away with his disciples. And Rahula suddenly notices that boy with lotuses is walking behind the crowd. He tells the mother, Mama, look, that boy is going to sell a lot of lotuses. He'll make a lot of money. I know he is my friend. The boy disappears in the crowd. A lot of other incidents happen. King and the queen come back crying and all, Rahul sees all that. And suddenly he sees that boy again. Now no lotuses and he's coming happily, running, jumping around, walking. And he says, screams, Dheera! He doesn't hear. He goes to another window, Dheera! He doesn't hear. He runs to the balcony, Dheera! Dheera is on his own, he's running, he can't. And, behind these princely boys, there used to be one servant all the time, 24 hours. There was one fat boy who used to be always after him. So he runs after Rahula, wherever he is going to find Dheera. One window, other window, one veranda, another veranda. He opens the kitchen back door, runs into the street, and there Dheera comes. कि क्यों धीरा, सारे फूल बिक गए? He says, नहीं, क्यों? पैसे नहीं बनाए? नहीं, तो क्या किया फूल का? लोगों ने बोली लगा दी, किसी ने 100 मुद्रा, कोई 500 मुद्रा, कोई 1000 मुद्रा दे रहा था। तो मैंने सोचा कि ये फूल अगर इतने कीमती है और वो साक्य मुनि अगर इतना वर्थ है, मतलब इतना महान है, सब लोग इसको लोटस देना चाहते हैं, तो क्यों ना मैं दे दूं लोटस? तो सारे लोटस लेके साक्य मुनि को दे दिया। अरे फिर क्या हुआ? साक्य मुनि ने मुझे आशीर्वाद दिया। कैसे? तो धीरा ने अपना हाथ पे सर पे रखा, राहुल के सर पे रखा, राहुल ने एकदम सिर उठा, उसने हाथ पकड़ लिया उसका। बोला और आगे क्या हुआ? धीरा बोलता है फिर साक्य मुनि ने कहा मनुष्य बनो, और फिर उन्होंने बहुत आशीर्वाद दिया और मैं आ गया। अच्छा, and he wouldn't leave that hand, and by then the servant has come. दरवाजा खोल कर आ रहा है, देखो छूते ने राजा के बेटे को छू लिया है। जाके और नौकर लोगों ने पकड़ा उसको, मार धाड़ के भगा दिया। उसके हाथ में अंगूठी थी, राहुल ने अंगूठी छीन के दे दिया, उसको भगा दिया, खून होने लगा। अब राहुल को पकड़ के ले आया कि चलो इसको नहलाना पड़ेगा, छू दिया है। तो मोटा सा सर्वेंट उसको लेके आता है, अब घर के अंदर जो पॉन्ड है, लोटस पॉन्ड, उसमें जाके डालता है। But Rahul is not removing his hand from his head. He will take bath, but he will not allow any water to wash away his blessing. That touch of that Achut boy, he doesn't want to let go. He takes out another jewelry from his hand and gives to the servant. कि रख ले, लेकिन सर में पानी मत डाल। That's how the story will go from day after day after day. Slowly, Buddha, here there's a touch of this Achut boy which he made feel the feel of his father. And slowly every day something or the other happens. So this book, I came back from Bodh Gaya and lockdown started. That was the time I should start writing. So I was writing 10 pages every day. Then it came time for typing them. There was no time, there's no office, nothing available. And I write in Hindi. I have to type in Hindi. There's no typist. So I learned on the iPad, I learned to write Hindi. You know that you speak and it types. It was typing and I was, it was doing its job, I was doing my job. After a couple of hundreds of pages, when I go back to the text, I see every time I typed, I asked for Rahul, the computer gave me Rahul Gandhi. Because computer doesn't know Rahul, it knows only Rahul Gandhi. So with great difficulties I finished the story and then I illustrated the whole book. And then Notion Press printed it. You can all have a look. So a copy I have here. Rahula is you see, this is a boy who is going with the monks. Hold on. This book is illustrated. Okay, this book is signed by Dalai Lama.
Wow.
This is illustrated with lots of illustrations like these.
Yeah.
And so on Amazon, you can go and get it. It's in Hindi, being translated. So that was the story of my people leaf and Rahula, how I got blessed again. Then there was time when Notion Press, the publisher, promised a book release day in Delhi at a book fair, but there was no book fair at the time because of this pandemic. I went to Bodh Gaya again, and under the same Bodhi tree, I got the chief monk of the Bodh Gaya temple to inaugurate the book. So the book is here. So I want somebody to come ahead and put in money to release it. Okay, that was my divine intervention stories. And that I am here is also divine intervention. Rajesh sir very hard-working person in this field of advertising. We have done such wonderful work, and his invitation I couldn't ignore. I had to come. Okay, now what we can do? We'll see 2 videos. I started imagining the girl who is standing in our history books like this, right? Mohenjo-daro girl with lots of bangles. So I thought, what would she be when she starts dancing? I have seen her only standing. So I extended her poses, how she would dance. And I found that in India there is only one village where they make bronze statues in this process called lost wax process. Lost wax process is what Mohenjo-daro people had invented or discovered 5,000 years ago. And that process has not improved till today. Can you imagine what perfection that was? There is no perfection beyond that. And the process is that you have to make a statue out of wax. If this is a statue out of wax, you will wrap clay around it, let it dry, and heat it. The whole wax will melt out from here. Inside will be hollow, and then you have to pour the molten metal into the hollow. So the space that is vacated by wax will be filled by metal. Then that clay has to be broken and the sculpture will come. So that is lost wax process, and in that process there is only one statue at a time. There is no mold, there will not be another statue. So they are unique. So that is why these bronze statues are expensive and they are unique, they are sought after. So I wanted to do this. So I went to Swamimalai, 200 kilometers south of Chennai, and there I found this, somebody suggested, whole village is full of artists who only make bronze statues. Like in curio shops, in antique shops, the Nataraj statues that you see, they're all made in Swamimalai. Why? It's a very strange reason. They call Swamimalai is the city of temples, that is why. But no, later on I got to know that the bronze that was made in Mohenjo-daro, the clay that they use was from Indus Valley, clay to wrap the wax. In whole of India there is only one river, Kaveri, at that turn, where it turns at Swamimalai, at that turn it deposits the same clay that was from Mohenjo-daro. So the whole civilization gathered and they established making bronze statues in Swamimalai. That is the only clay that can stand 1200 degrees of temperature, because molten metal, when poured, the clay would crack. No other clay or no other material on this earth can withstand 1200 degrees. Strange, no? How? What science? So it was the same Mohenjo-daro statue, it was the same Mohenjo-daro process. I went and did this whole series of statues that is restored. Okay. So it gives immense pleasure when I create the statues and they stand on their own and they're beautiful. They look. Now can we see the TV commercials, please?
दूध पीता है इंडिया दूध है शक्ति दूध है फन मस्ती ही मस्ती हर कदम मेरे साथ चलता है इंडिया दूध पीता है इंडिया अमूल दूध है असली दूध तन मन को करते मजबूत मेरे साथ चलता है इंडिया
अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
ये आज मुझको क्या हो गया क्यों बहका बहका सा हाल हो गया यूं चलते चलते पहुंच कहीं गया ये सामने तू कौन आ गया तेरे प्यार में लिपटा हुआ अमूल चॉकलेट से प्यार हो गया
Amul chocolate for someone you love.
सीढ़ियों पे बैठा है जो मेरी राह देखता है वो दौड़ पड़ेगा मुझे देख कर जेबों को टटोलता है जो मेरे प्यार में लिपटा हुआ अमूल चॉकलेट चाहता है वो
Amul chocolate for someone you love.
पापा जब घर आएंगे वाला 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 मेरे लिए ले आएंगे अमूल चोको दूध में होगा शेर होगा सारा दूध छोटू से फिर खुश होगा मोटू सा बालू अमूल चोको दूध बर्थडे पार्टी मनाएंगे with अमूल चोको दूध
एरो गाम गाठा बाड़े ना दूध की नदियां बहे जब कोयल डोको गाए मारे घर अंगना ना भूलो ना हमारे घर अंगना ना भूलो ना हमारे गांव की मक्खन रोटी लाए खुशियां छोटी छोटी खुश रह तेरा बेटा बेटी जैसे चमके हीरा मोती तेरे आंचल में तेरे चेहरे की ये लाली लाए मारे मन उजाली आंगन आंगन है खुशहाली मारे घर झांझर लक्ष्मी के बाजे मारे घर झांझर लक्ष्मी के बाजे
हर कण में शुद्धता खुल के बन जाए सागर सागर
1 किलोग्राम सागर पाउडर मिल्क से बने 10.5 लीटर पौष्टिक दूध, भरपूर छना, भरपूर पनीर, अमूल की भरपूर शुद्धता।
जीवन के हर मुहूर्त पर छलके खुशियों की गागर
सागर।
जरा सी हंसी दुलार जरा सा
जरा सी अंदर प्यार जरा सा
The taste of India बना दे हर पल को हर पल मस्ती का अमूल the taste of
It's a sweet world. Make it sweeter with Amul Mithai Mate.
मेरो काम काटा बाजे जा दूध की नदिया बाहे जा कोयल टोको गाए हमारे घर अंगना ना भूलो ना हमारे घर अंगना ना भूलो ना सपने हो गए हैं साकार मन के माना ये घर बार आवे खुशियों की फुहार 12 महीने है त्योहार सुनो सुनो रे दूध का सागर बहता जाए कंगन सोने के खनकाए सुनो द्वार पे शहनाई हमारे घर झंझर लक्ष्मी के बाजे ओ हमारे घर झंझर लक्ष्मी के बाजे जरा सी हंसी दुलार जरा सा
Taste of India.
रे बाबा रे मारे जाने आए तो फूल है बापे स्वाद इंडिया का रोज रोज गुड मिल्क पिया करो हाँ रोज रोज गुड मिल्क पिया करो हेल्दी लाइफ जिया करो रोज रोज गुड मिल्क पिया करो कभी एक ग्लास या दो पियो गर्मा गर्मिया खूब पियो चाय में चाचा लाया करो रोज रोज गुड मिल्क पिया करो अपनों को प्यारे पिलाने का मजा कभी मिल्क शेक और कॉफी का मजा
रोजाना एनर्जी रिफिल करो
रोज रोज गुड मिल्क पिया करो हेल्दी लाइफ जिया करो रोज रोज गुड मिल्क पिया करो
इसकी खुशबू में लिपटी सुबह है इसी की धुन पे धड़कती शाम ममता के स्वाद से बना है इंडिया
Amul, the taste of India.
इसी की लज्जत से दिल सुहाना जिंदगी का मधुर तराना ममता के स्वाद से बना है इंडिया रोशन कर दे दुनिया
The taste of India.
Sure, of course. Thanks.
I also request Manish Bhai to present the memento on behalf of Sama.